Hello, Daphne here with another interesting story, or one that I hope you'll find interesting. This is a true story titled Corregidor Concentration Camp, Edgar Whitcomb, better known to me as Robert Johnson. My family's internment in a concentration camp during World War II was a nightmare, and that, my friends, is a total understatement. Yet many interesting people were met in that camp, one of which was a person that my parents befriended named Edgar Whitcomb, but better known to us as Robert Johnson. Mr. Johnson and my family were interned at Chapai Japanese concentration camp in Shanghai. Bob, as we called him then, was loved by my twin sister and me. He was so much fun to be with, in spite of my twin sister and me. Well, it's true, we were total pests. The picture here was taken in California in 1945 after the war, when he visited California where we were living. The sad part about this story is during my mother's lifetime, she never told me about Robert Johnson. I never knew about anything about him until sorting through my mother's memorabilia after her death. Came across his picture but had no idea who it was. Later in my life, I met a couple from Indianapolis who knew Ed Whitcomb. By sheer coincidence, after sharing my Shanghai, China story and the pictures of that time in my life, they realized Robert Johnson was their friend, Edgar Whitcomb. To my deep sadness, they informed me he had died just a few months earlier. Therefore, I realized instantly that a reunion would never be possible. You cannot imagine how unbelievably heartbreaking it was to have missed a chance to reconnect to this man that my twin sister and I jumped all over as 2-year-olds. Fast forward many years later, Edgar Whitcomb wrote the most intriguing book titled Escape from Corregidor. It is a book that shows this remarkable man's ingenuity in the face of evil and his courage to the nth degree. The following is Amazon's description of the book. I highly recommend you read this incredible true story. It's definitely one for the ages. So here's the review. At a critical moment, Ed Whitcomb, a B-17 navigator, made a split-second decision and thereby set off a hair-raising, spine-tingling sequence of narrow escapes, captures, unexpected breaks, and bitter betrayals that culminated in his final extradition from enemy territory. Whitcomb reached Clark Field, that's in the Philippines, just before its demolition by the Japanese. He then evaded capture at the Fall of Bataan by fleeing in a rowboat to the bastion of Corregidor, where he was caught. Escaping from the enemy under cover of darkness, he swam 8 hours, can you believe that, 8 hours, to get to the mainland. After weeks of struggle in a snake-infested jungle, he sailed by moonlight down the heavily patrolled coast, only to fall once again into the clutches of the enemy, the Japanese. Ed Whitcomb took a desperate chance for freedom. Clenching his fists and raising his voice triumphantly, he said to his captors, "My name is Robert Fred Johnson. I'm a mining employee." He didn't want him to know he was in the military, obviously, for obvious reasons. So this is the story of this man who vowed never to give up. He assumed the identity of a civilian and lived another man's life for almost 2 years. Neither hunger nor beatings nor Ed Whitcomb's determination to escape the enemy and return home to Indiana ever failed him. He was going to win out no matter what. He is the epitome of the American fighting man. He has the courage and fortitude needed to defy all odds in order to bring honor and respect to his state and his country. Escape from Corregidor is the story, told with simplicity and fearlessness, of his dedication to the principles of devotion to his fellow man and his country. Anyway, that is the story which will go down in history as by a person that was one of the most courageous during World War II. And my connection to him as Bob Johnson will always be remembered as with great affection. But mainly I'm happy the book that he wrote will live on forever for other people to read about this very remarkable man.